Thanks for tuning in to Prime Sports Speed on Prime Sports Network as Eric Smith is live from Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we are actually in the middle of practice number 4 for the week. Qualifying is coming up in a little less than 24 hours, and
Yep.
we're going to preview that on another report. So don't forget to check that out. This is a practice update of the Indianapolis 500 here. And let's go live to Eric Smith in
Yeah.
Indianapolis. How's everything going, Eric?
Good. Fast Friday, fastest speeds of the month being turned right now. Believe they're over 231 miles an hour behind me. That's added boost levels. It's the first day to add that to the cars. So it's been an interesting day, interesting week. But yeah, definitely this is the precursor for qualifying this weekend.
All right. And qualifying, what time does that start tomorrow?
Noon. It'll be on. It's a little different. They noon to 2 on Peacock. 2 to 3 will be on Network NBC, and then 3 to 6 on NBCSN. But it'll be a definitely interesting session, which I know we'll talk about in our qualifying show. But the field's definitely looking tight right now. That's for sure.
How long is qualifying?
5 hours and 50 minutes.
Okay.
So it's all day. Yeah, it's a long day.
All right. All right. Let's start first of all with the way that speeds have looked so far coming into today. So let's talk about the first few days. It was interesting. I was listening to one of the quotes yesterday, and it was a 12-second quote from Marco Andretti, and he seemed pretty pissed off. So
Yeah,
he wasn't very happy.
No, the Andretti guys, they've been telling me. I actually talked to Marco yesterday too. They're lacking pace. They just don't feel like they have the overall speed. But then here again today, some of these guys in qualifying trim look good, but coming into the day, they've been focusing on race stuff. They know that their qualifying speed, they don't think they're going to win the pole across the board. And last year, they were really good. They qualified really well. They were quickest in almost every practice day. If you heading into this race last year, we were like, this is Andretti's to lose.
Yeah, and then he did terrible.
Yeah, they didn't get a guy finished in the top 5. Marco was on the pole last year and didn't even lead a lap. That's the first time that's been done since, I believe, 2001.
Why was that?
He just struggled. And I talked to him about that, and he said that him and the whole team came with a different mindset this year with, hey, last year we won practice. We won qualifying. We didn't win the race. And Marco's always been a guy that's known that, hey, I want a big lap. I want to run quick of the speed charts. I want to see my name at the top and the day's done. But he said there's a way to do that. You put on fresh tires, you get a good toe lap, which is like a draft, and it's kind of artificial hope. It gives you a false sense of security, like, oh, Marco's at the top of the speed chart again. They've got good speed. But it wasn't indicative on how the race pace was. So they thought this year, let's not focus on speed. Let's focus on the race. Let's get our race cars dialed in. And they look good in the track. So, but this race is also known to be a qualifying track position race. So you're kind of giving up one for the other. That's why it's been a good, interesting week of practice to see who's been working on what.
Okay.
Because for an example, qualifying, you get added boost and it puts the speeds up there. Well, you don't get that until today. So it's hard to simulate a qualifying run when you don't even have the boost until today. But teams know how important it is to qualify up front. So they've been trying to play in, well, maybe I'll go with the qualifying simulation run, trying to get a clean lap. And let's see where we stand before the boost gets there. And the other guys, like the Andretti guys, like, why do that? We tried that last year and it didn't work. Let's just focus on race stuff. So it's been an interesting program to see who's working on what and at what time that they've been working on it and trying to figure out who's got good qualifying trim, who's got good race trim, and who's got good balance of both. That's been trying to decipher through this whole information through the week, and that's why it's been so busy out here so far.
Well, if since the boost gets turned up today, does that make today the most important practice session?
Yes. I would say yesterday was, in a sense, for the race and qualifying.
Why?
Because you haven't got the race levels yet, or the qualifying levels yet. And starting today, you don't get the race boost levels back until after you qualify. And you only got a short session on Sunday, and carb days, 2-hour session. So you really got to yesterday was really the final time you're fully going to get your race car dialed in during race conditions. But you also can simulate qualifying runs. Today is only about qualifying runs. There's no sense of trying race setup with qualifying boost levels because they take it away. So
Scott
today,
Dixon was the best yesterday.
Yeah, and I would say for the week, because even him simulating qualifying runs, he's done that a few times. He looks like the overall top right now. Him and Ganassi guys, and I'd say Ed Carpenter Racing, they look like they're good in both levels, both qualifying trim and race trim. So far today, they're towards the top. Today's going to be real beneficial. You'll see a couple of guys. The overall speed chart is going to show high 231s. Some of those were with tows. See, I get the no tow report, which a tow is a car within 10 seconds in front of you. If you have a car within 10 seconds in front of you, they classify that as a tow. That means you're getting a draft per se, which ups your speed. So the no tow report is going to show guys that they don't have that. So the overall speed chart's not going to show you a tow or not. I've got the no tow report, which I'll have on the site later this evening.
Excellent.
So that's where you really are going to try to figure out, okay, who's got qualifying pace? It's that no-tow report and a 4-lap average from the no-tow, which I have up in the media center.
Now, considering, especially over the last year and a half with NASCAR, the practice qualifying is all different. Matter of fact, the first practice qualifying we're going to actually see tomorrow. It starts tomorrow in Texas, correct?
Correct.
Practice?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, considering that this is, especially the 500, being as different and unique as it is with practice and qualifying, tow, no tow, boost, no boost, you name it. Have you been able to put together some sort of a historical formula that says, or do you actually have to be at the track yourself for about 5 or 6 or 7 years? Because obviously being at the track is also going to give you a significant amount of data that is important when you're handicapping this race.
It's definitely being here and definitely talking to drivers, because through the drivers I talked to this week, they don't even know coming in today who looks good or not. Because like they said, you could get a false sense of hope. Your car could be good in a tow, or you could pass in a tow. You could be running in a train and you're like, oh yeah, I just passed 5 cars. But you don't know who's on older tires. You don't know who's on newer tires.
Yes.
You don't know what everybody else is doing. You can only know what your organization's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to get a good read. There's no data that's going to show that. You can't look on the speed charts and be like, oh, that lap was run on a fresh tire, or this lap was run on old tires. Or this guy's passing guys.
So what do you use? What is your formula for handicapping this race?
So I look at all the data cumulatively, and then I also look at practice. I'm watching who looks good in a tow. I can walk down the pits and see who's changing tires and who's got a fresh pair of tires or set of tires on. Who's got, maybe they came in but they never changed the tires, and then they went back out another run. You could really watch and get a good feel on who's doing what, but you gotta know what you're looking at, and you gotta know who you're talking to and getting the right data back. So I use all the speed charts, all the data from no tow, with a tow, who looks good on long runs. I use my visual on who I see who's looking good in the tow and draft. That's key, because race day you're going to be in traffic a lot. And then I use it just talking to the drivers. Who do they feel is good? How do they feel their car works? How do they feel? Where are they missing at? Do they feel like their car may be good short runs on newer tires, but as you go a longer run, they feel like they fade and somebody else may get. See, I combine all that, and that's where it helps being on site compared to not being here, and you wouldn't know other than just what the single lap times. Because look, they give you the single lap speed chart, like the Hunter race say, like, hey, that's great. Hey, I have the 10th fastest speed, but that doesn't mean anything. This race is 200 laps. Single lap doesn't mean a whole lot. Qualifying's 4 laps, so it doesn't matter what you do on 1 no-tow lap. How can you do on 4 no-tow laps? So luckily we get that in the media center when it's all said and done. So I use all that to kind of formulate on who I think qualifying wise will look good, and then for race day I'll do the same.
And what about when you notice, okay, Dixon had his fastest lap 60, and Marcus Ericsson had his fastest at lap 2?
Yeah.
How do we determine what is more important?
Usually I would say the longer. if you turn a faster lap later, that tells me that your speed is getting better as the run goes on. You're not tailing off. As this track, the tires naturally going to fall off. That's what they designed to do. That's what they try to create passing, so you can minimize that fall off and make passes. So if your lap times are getting better, that tells me your car is getting better. If your lap times are getting worse, that tells me you might have good short run speed.
Okay.
But as the run goes on, you're probably going to fall back to guys that have better, longer run pace. So
if I look at this and I see Dixon's got the best time in lap 60, and I scroll down and I see, let's say, how do you pronounce his last name? Is it Palou?
Alex Palou. Yep.
So his fastest lap was only a fraction of a little bit slower, but he did it on lap 79, 19 more laps. And then I look further down and I see Colton Herta and McLaughlin 87 and 81 the laps, and they were only like maybe a second slower. So is that then where you say, yeah, they might be 18th or 19th on the list, but they're 20, 25 laps longer and just a little bit off?
Yes.
Do you then squeeze them all the way up and say, okay, Dixon and these guys are now pretty much tied together?
You do. And that's what these drivers have told me. Like, hey, don't look at the overall speed chart. The top, we don't even do that. We don't. Yeah, I might be 24th fastest, but my car is great in traffic, and that one lap might only be a half a mile an hour off the top lap. So I'm already right there on my one lap. But my car, as the run goes on, I feel good. So you might see a lot of guys that might be outside the top 20 on the speed charts, but
yeah,
they're happy. Now, granted, today, if they're outside the top 20, yeah, there might be stressing because the Noto qualifying is where it's at. It's 4 laps. That's all it is, not a long run. So today's overall speed chart and the 4 lap runs is more indicative of, yes, you can get something out of it, where past this week, the first few days, don't really look at that speed chart yet.
Okay. And speaking of today, let's see. Actually, yesterday, so Tony Kanaan was fastest yesterday, practice 4?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And I see here today, he is currently also first. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. Yep.
So that's pretty good. So he's in a good situation right now.
That means he's got a good race car and he's got a good qualifying car. And as I said, he's starting up. It's a track position race. So if he's starting up front and he's got a good race car, watch out. And he's always good here in general. So I think you could get him for good odds coming into this weekend.
How do you? I haven't been able to see any odds in some of the books I use.
I haven't seen any in a while. They had them, and then I haven't found them in a while. So I don't know if maybe they'll update them after practice today. Maybe
that's probably it. Yeah. I think now maybe that's what they're doing. Is they don't want to get caught off guard in that same, for people that, just like what we're talking about. The experts, the people who really know how to find these things out, they don't want to get screwed over. So they're probably, as soon as practice and qualifying begins, taking the odds off, and they won't put it back on until it's all over, probably until what? Sunday, Monday?
Yeah, probably Sunday night, Monday morning.
Okay.
Probably the next best. So, yeah, they'll probably put them up tonight to try to entice you to bet something before qualifying.
I hope so.
And then they'll probably take them off during qualifying and then put them back up.
Okay.
Sunday evening, I bet.
I hope so. All right. So then, in case that happens, tell me who. Give me like a top 3 of who was best in practice this week.
I would say Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Connor Daly looks really good, and then I'll just give you 2 teams because there's combined. There you got 7 drivers to them. Ganassi and Ed Carpenter Racing. So Palou, Dixon, Kanaan, and Erickson are all with Ganassi. They look great right now. And then Ed Carpenter Racing, which would be Ed Carpenter, Connor Daly, Renus VK. I think those are your favorites. They're kind of separating themselves from the pack right now, as I would say. Coming into this qualifying Fast Friday day, I feel best about them. And then we'll see at the end of today on qualifying. And right now, those Ganassi guys and Daly and they look good today. So I would say right now they're really separating themselves even further.
And give me a couple of disappointing drivers this week.
Definitely the Andretti camp. I expected more, which I get. Their philosophy. So we'll see if that pays out for them. I'm a little disappointed in them. And I'd say right now, for practice, I'm going to go the Penske's. They haven't really been near the top of the speed charts much this week. They kept talking about how much stock they put into improving last year's debacle. They were terrible in qualifying, didn't do much during the race. This is Penske's track, Penske series now. They vowed that we're going to fix this. We spent a bunch of time in the offseason trying to improve. And before I came downstairs to talk, the best on the no-tow report was like 21st. Even Simona De Silvestro, who's an Alliance car of them, was better than them on the no-tow report. So that's concerning for the amount of time they spent to improve, and it looks like they're still behind. So, Granted, they could be sandbagging. Maybe they don't show all their cards right now. Right. But I have a feeling that's not a good philosophy to use, because if you're sandbagging and something goes awry tomorrow, you're going to wish you had that time today. So I'd say those are my two. I'm looking to see more out of groups.
All right. Before we wrap up, there was some drama from RLL, and a lot had to do with what we're going to post up right here now on video. And this is the near catastrophe for Colton Herta. So talk a little bit about this, because what we're seeing is, and I'm going to stop it here, is I see a row of three cars, and they're basically slow driving to the finish line for a photo op, correct?
Correct. And a practice session. Keep that in mind. This is a practice session, or guys have consistently, if you look at the speed charts, they're all over 222, 223. These guys are going about 150, 140 miles an hour for a photo op and a live practice session right now.
Okay. And then in the back, in the corner, you see the two yellow cars.
Yes.
And Colton Herta is the one in the back, correct? He's the one that is coming flying around the turn. Because what? He's unaware of what's going on?
He is completely unaware. RLL didn't let anybody know they were doing this. So in context, Penske did this on opening day. This is his track. This is his series. And the first 5 minutes of opening day is installation laps. Go out, come back into the pit. Just be sure plugs are tight, nothing's leaking. Before we go around the track full speed, 200 miles an hour, let's just be sure everything's right in the car. Everything electrical's good. They told the whole field, hey, we're not going to come in. We're going to do a photo op with our guys coming across the Yard of Bricks. Everybody knew this. Well, yesterday, when RLL did this, there wasn't the installation laps. This is green flags out. Everybody's eligible for practice. They told nobody that they were wanting to do a photo op. So the yellow car, the other one, Scott McLaughlin, a Penske driver, coincidentally enough, they didn't know. He's slowing down already because the spotter told him, hey, the cars ahead of you are going slow. I think they're doing a photo op. Simona De Silvestro is the white and red car at the far bottom. McLaughlin's in the middle, and they're going slower too. Not as slow as the Rahal cars, but they're going slower. Colton Herta has no idea. Nobody told him. He's coming around flying for a practice lap, and he comes up to these guys. In an IndyCar and race car, if you slam on the brakes, you're going to spin. So he couldn't slam on the brakes. So he's got to lift, and he saw that little line to go on the outside, and luckily he gets around him, but he scraped the wall. It could have been worse. He could have launched. We've seen an IndyCar launch over another tire. It's going to launch him in the air. He could have got airborne probably into the fence in a dangerous situation over there in turn 4 because of a photo op. So RLL got chastised pretty bad by IndyCar, penalized practice time today because of that maneuver. And they admitted in the press conference this morning, look, I'm not happy we got penalized, but I see what we did wrong. We should have told somebody, which led to a point. Why are teams doing this, and should they do this in a lot of time for photo ops, not during practice? So it kind of opened up Pandora's box, but it could have been a lot worse, and it definitely created some drama yesterday, that's for sure.
All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up now. Just taking a look, because there's a little less than 2 hours remaining in the session. Kanan still leading the session. Sato is fourth. So, again,
he looks good. Yep.
And he's probably going to get good odds too, as usual, right?
He was 18-1 coming into this week, and he's the defending winner of this race. So
yeah, and he's won
aggressive.
twice. Yeah,
he's won twice. So yeah.
All right. So what else for practice?
Just today's Fast Friday, so we'll close it up today. Qualify this weekend. Sunday evening after qualifying, they'll do a race practice for a couple hours. It's a great practice to do that for the fans. And then that's it until carb day, 2 hours next Friday, a week from now, and then the race. So this is really, this is about it. So we're really getting close to setting this field. Practice is about wrapped up. We'll set the field this weekend and be ready to race next weekend.
And racereviewonline.net, as usual, you're going to have all the stories. Everything you see, you're going to print.
I am going to. Yep. Today will be a full Fast Friday recap. What I see, no toes, what Penske's doing, what drivers have told me. All that whole thing will be up this evening. Also, I'm going to have a guide to qualifying, what you're supposed to watch tomorrow, because it could get confusing. You can qualify multiple times. We'll talk about that in our qualifying show, which I'll post the link to that in that article too. So I'll have all that up tonight as well, just so fans know what they're watching tomorrow.
Appreciate it, Eric. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Actually, in about 5 seconds.
Right now.